And then next you can see there's a list of 7 additional facilities that we reached out to in the colleges and universities trying to obtain information. But it should be noted that the last one listed here, which is Savannah College of Art and Design, they actually rent the Savannah Chatham Aquatic Center for their needs because they do not have their own facility, so they rent the community pool, which is very similar to ours. So, and
I think you're going to hear back from a few more. I bet Columbus State will.
Yes. Yes.
Return your call when they get
They
settled.
were on spring break as well,
Right,
so
right.
he was not available.
Well, good information. Councilor Davis.
Browder, thank you so much for the information. And it looks like, just off a glance here, looking at this, that you've got a lot of up and running stable facilities, and I'm not really looking at the universities. Outside the universities and the colleges, it looks like most of these centers are running somewhere averaging between 80 and 70 hours on first glance here. But that, breaking down their programs and how they're utilizing their facilities is another thing. I think you'll find out that probably the more established ones and the ones running longer hours, because of their stability and what they're able to do, they've probably come a long ways in doing that. But the one component that we have to keep in mind here when we look at this is also the revenue generated. And it looks like they're all generating revenue. So at the end of the day, you have to equate that into the overall picture. So I did want to say that, but I thank you for putting this information together, and hopefully you'll get more from them as we go.
I hope so, and I'm sure we will. Like I said, it's just a matter of people not being available to provide the information.
Holly, also, I can't tell you how helpful this is, and so I hate to be piling stuff on you, but as we go forward this, I also think, Councilor Davis said that this obviously is first glance. So I had the same observation that many of them are in the high 70s and 80s with hours. And also there seems to be a direct correlation between that range and the budget.
Yes.
Of $1.2 million that we've set for 80, or that has been proposed for 89 hours. So I think that's an interesting tidbit. And the other thing, again, I don't mean you. Obviously, you're already working, as we've talked about many times, 80 hours a week, as is Becky. And so I don't want to give you other things to do. But to the extent that these entities can provide to us their revenue.
Sure.
How much of that budget's made up with revenue?
Sure.
I'd be interested in. So, again, I think this is really helpful.
Okay.
Councilor Thomas.
It would also be helpful to me, Ms. Browder, if you're going to come back with an additional report to show which ones of these pools have competitions. It would seem that some of them probably do not, that they're just an indoor pool. So if they do have competition, I know Cherokee does. I know, I think I know a couple of other, Tech does. If that information could be included, that would be helpful, I think.
Certainly. Would you like for us to be very specific on the city and county facilities, or would you like for us to expand that onto the colleges and universities?
No, just the city county, I think, would be sufficient.
Yeah, okay. I think the cities, I'll tell you, it's interesting to see what the colleges and universities are doing, but I got to tell you, I think they're just so dissimilar. I suspect there's all sorts of things going on with how the regions are funding them and grant opportunities they have through educational foundations that probably wouldn't apply to us. So I think your time, I appreciate it, but I think your time's better spent with the cities and counties.
Cities and counties.
Okay. All right, Holly, great. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Okay, the last thing is actually an update that was scheduled months ago, or 2 months ago or so, and then had been batted around. And Pam just wanted to give us a quick update on urban service districts and some meetings she's been having with counselors, just so other counselors are aware of the process. So I don't think this will take too terribly long. Good afternoon, by 5 minutes.
Hello, good afternoon. And this is just a quick update, just 3 slides, so we'll just take a few minutes just to give you an update of where we're at with urban service districts. We've been looking at urban service districts for the last couple of years and had some discussions about those. We've met with several counselors whose districts would be impacted by urban service districts and kind of realigning where the line should be. And so we're really looking at presenting something to council prior to December 31 to be effective January 1 of 2017, which won't impact the FY17 budget, but possibly the FY18 budget. And we're looking at reviewing those boundaries. And I'll give you a couple of examples just to show you what we're seeing. The review level of service for the police response time is really what distinguishes between District 1 and District 2 when it comes to the general operating millage, and then for the stormwater and paving is the density of roads in that particular district. And so I just have a couple of examples as the population has grown outside of the traditional city of Columbus, more out into the rural areas, what we're finding with the distinction between Urban Service District 1 and Urban Service District 2. And this is just a neighborhood. The yellow is Urban Service District 1, and the green is Urban Service District 2. So probably when those lines were originally drawn, this was a rural area. And now that we've had development in these particular areas, what we're finding is that the line actually goes down the middle of a neighborhood, the middle of a street. So you'll have one neighbor on one side paying a different millage rate than their next door neighbor, and we feel that this is something that needs to be addressed so that it's fair and equitable to all who pay Urban Service District 1 millage. This is just another example, again, where development has expanded past certain lines, and we're finding, again, the yellow in Urban Service District 1 and the green is Urban Service District 2. And so we're going to look at those properties kind of parcel by parcel, evaluating the police response time, the density of roads, to make sure that the lines are actually fair and equitable to all the residents. So that will be something that we'll be bringing back to council as we continue this evaluation process.
Thank you, Pam. And just one thing that I can understand how this one might have come about because there is some sort of a line. And so appreciate your comments. The other one, if you could go back, is an island. And so only council can adopt an urban service district. So I guess what happened here, it was either all urban service district 2 at one point, and council began to eat in around it, and then somehow never got to the island, I guess. Or, and if you know, or this was specifically cut out for some policy reason to give this cul-de-sac urban service district 2? I mean, how did that happen?
I don't know the response to that. That's part of some of the research we're doing, but the last time urban service district lines were changed was many years ago. So how this particular situation happened, I don't know, but that's part of the research that we're doing.
It's really odd. Okay, yeah.
The yellow portion is Urban District 1, which
Right.
should be the oldest in
Or more
in the-
urban or
more
whatever.
urban, longest in the city of Columbus. And the green is District 2, which is the new development like going up north or in those
Right.
areas.
North and in the panhandle areas, what typically.
Now, I don't want to put you in a spot, but I'm just wondering, with the growth that's gone in Urban District 2, would that alleviate a little bit of the burden out of District 1?
I don't know that it would alleviate the burden, but it would bring District 2, it would change their urban service district to District 1, as long as the police response time and the density of roads is similar to District 1. Then
But in
it
doing
would,
that, I'm sorry. I didn't
it would
mean to-
either generate additional revenue, or you could lower the millage rate in District 1 by that offset. I don't think it's a tremendous amount of revenue potential. Even if you did the entire county in the urban service district, it's not, wouldn't change dramatically, but it would provide additional revenue, but not significant.
I'd like to just see a little bit
Sure.
more balance between the two districts. as the growth happens, because, you know, services, police services, fire, it's across the city now.
Right.
It isn't so much versus north versus south anymore. The crime, the need for ambulance, police, it's throughout the whole city now, and I just think it should be fairly, you know, shared in the cost of it.
Right. And in the calculation of the millage rate, there's different components. For the fire portion of the millage rate is equivalent across the entire county.
Okay.
Once there is strategically situated fire stations throughout the county has the same level of service, so that millage rate's the same in the components of the millage rate. The police response time, there's a distinction between District 1 and District 2, but what we're going to have to do is kind of look at that in smaller sections to see if there's a distinguishing line for police response time between District 1 and District 2, and we'll have to look at that. The other distinction is in the density of roads, which is what sets the millage rate for stormwater and paving, and we'll have to look at that as well.
And when you say density for those, you know,
It's
Yeah.
road miles within that district. So when you get out into the Panhandle area, it's more rural and larger lots, so there's not as many roads, which the millage rate for paving goes for resurfacing and maintaining the roads. So in essence, their millage rate was lower than the millage rate within the inner city, which requires more maintenance, more right-of-way maintenance, resurfacing, those kind of things.
and Pam, thank you for breaking it down a little bit, because sometimes as our constituents, you know, listen to us, they don't know the terminology. They don't understand it. They're saying, okay, what versus what? And the conversation is always north versus south. So I think when you can explain it in the detail that you have now, it's a better understanding how the urban service districts work. How are the taxes calculated for those districts? Why is it such an extreme difference? Okay, there's not enough northern part, there's not a lot of roads to pave, while in the inner city there's more, so it's going to cost more. And that was the reason why I asked you to, and I hope in the future you can break it down a little bit more so that those that are not familiar with the terms of government can have a better understanding on how their tax dollars are being used.
So there's really, like you said, three really distinctions: the police response time, the stormwater, which is drainage, not your sewer, but your drainage, and then paving. Those are the three different components. For debt service, for the economic development millage, for the fire portion of the millage, those are the same across the entire county. And so as we continue this research, we'll provide more feedback to council.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The one fact that Pam provided me with, that I'm sure we'll be talking about later, that I thought was particularly interesting, council may be interested in, is that this really is not a huge, this should not be done for revenue purposes, because even doing the whole shebang is like $130,000 a year, which is important money, obviously, but it's not a game changer for our budget situation. It really needs to be done for what you all deem is the proper policy related to those lines. Where do you think the line is fairly appropriately drawn? The money aspect of it, I think you're going to find is not a driving factor. So, but anyway, thank you, Pam. All right. With that concludes our agenda for today. So thank you all, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please state aye. All right, we are adjourned. We'll see you next week for a proclamation session.